So a lot of ours hearing this right now, this usually sounds like the artist has made a decision at this point. This is not just like I wanted to make two songs and see if I liked it. It's more of I made a decision that I'm going to pursue music as a path. At the very least, as a business. It might not even be your full-time business yet, but you're going to pursue it as a business.
Correct.
So this is more so for people who know music is something they want to do. They're now getting exposure to here's all the stuff I should have to do. So it's not like a fly-by-night sort of art. This is more of I'm serious. I'm setting up this stuff so that whenever something comes down the line, like you're saying, you went through something. That's why you have all this knowledge. So that when something comes down the line, you're protected. You're set up the right way. You can collect more of these royalties, which we'll go into next on your business. So you break down a lot of leaving money on the table. So we already built the business. We got our business structure now. Now we need revenue for that business. Revenue comes from a lot of different places. So going into breaking down, leaving money on the table, where all this money comes from, how would you explain that to artists?
Yeah, well, first we got to go back to the copyright before we go into shows, merch, and all that extra. Those are ancillary income sources outside of the music, right? So when we look at those copyrights and we look at the ability to license those assets, that's where we're going to make the money. Like, this is where I learned, right? I was starting with the sync company, and I didn't know anything about publishing. But as I started rubbing shoulders with other publishers, I really saw like, oh, this is how you really make money with this. And it's not, most people, when they hear licensing and they're coming into the business, it's mainly from a beat leasing type of place, because that's going to be the first place you're going to hear about it. The second place you're going to hear about it is sync licensing, getting your stuff on television and film. But then what are those rights that come with that? You know what I mean? Or how do you exercise those rights? You know what I'm saying? So once you understand that this is where we're going to make money, we're making money on these 6 rights: the right to reproduce, the right to distribute, you know what I mean? Stuff like that, public display, the right to print, you know what I mean? Making money on those licenses. Now we know where we're going to execute this thing at. Now we know the type of royalties we're looking for: the right to public performance, which is BMI and ASCAP and CSAC, right? That's the first selection that many people make. But then what about the rest of those royalties that we leave on the table? Prime example. I was in Target, and I'm making a show about this. So if this comes out before this show comes out, whatever. I saw it's same time this week, rather. I saw a Diana Ross t-shirt in Target.
All right.
Right? And I said, oh, that's interesting. That's a dope t-shirt. And I get closer and I say, oh, they put the music on the shirt.
Like lyrics?
No, they put the actual sheet music behind her picture on the shirt. So it was very clever, because that publisher now gets paid. That's the right to print. That's public display. Now you have Diana Ross, her name and her picture. That's her brand. But I'm quite sure that they worked a deal with the publisher, and the publisher said, hey, why don't you put the sheet music behind there and we get a royalty off the sale? You're going into, 3,000 Targets across America. This would be great for us. And that's how you exercise your copyrights, right? I saw the same. I was in a random Goodwill the other day, but I saw a Janet Jackson Velvet Rope Tour t-shirt, right? Now I looked at it because it was printed on an Old Navy t-shirt, so obviously it was in Old Navy, and it was from 2 years ago because I'm looking for the dates. The record label had the titles of the song beneath her picture. Janet Jackson at the top, but her title was there, and also at the bottom was a barcode. And I'm like, what does this barcode go to? It goes back to the master recording, but this is public display. So even though the record company on the sound recording doesn't own the title to the song, the publisher does. Therefore, they can get a cut of that t-shirt sale. And then you sell it across, 3,000, 4,000 Old Navy stores in America.
Man. So this is
business.
Yeah. This is really understanding the law. More than anything,
yeah,
and it's how do I use the law to my advantage. And whether or not somebody likes some of these laws, like how do I use it to my advantage while my impartation is while still staying ethical and moral. But yeah, like the stuff about, the sheet music being in the background, they probably made it like faded in the background or something like that.
It was crystal clear.
Oh,
it was crystal clear. Yeah.
I imagine it's not the most appealing t-shirt at that point, but somebody's getting paid.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got the application of all these different types of royalties at work now. This goes beyond just playing a song on Spotify and YouTube and getting paid for it. Now it's, how do I incorporate this with my other products in my business? Or even any deals I do, like that's a deal with Target. Target is a distributor who have thousands and thousands of employees that are going to ensure, lawyers on staff, making sure, essentially big companies will just hire lawyers to make sure they don't get sued, right? That's their entire deal. Making sure they look at the law and things like this so that the money goes to the right people, set it up in these contracts, which we'll get into more contracts later, but set it up in these contracts and everybody gets their respective piece under the law. But going back to, let's talk about the everyday indie artist, right? What exactly does that mean for them with these copyrights? How would they apply? Because most of them not getting a deal with Target, not getting a deal with Walmart, or so on and so forth. So how would they apply this?
I mean, well, the indie artist will apply this by owning it and keeping it, right? So let's say a lot of this I'm cross-paralleling with real estate, okay? Whether you have a real property or you have intellectual property, the average artist, let's say this is where they're going to make the bulk of their money. They're betting that something will have a great social life on social media. It will have a great run, or you get great playlisting on Spotify, right? Or Apple Music, so that it can have some type of life. All right. And the lottery ticket is either I get an offer on this for a deal, or if I do well with promotion through TikTok, Instagram, it has a retro viral season where someone says, I remember when that song came out, or someone does some type of comedy video and it just goes viral, right? That's what many artists are betting on outside of doing the active day-to-day, going to the shows, doing whatever they do to make the money. They're betting that they will have a lottery ticket at some point in this timeline. So that's what they're going to use those copyrights for. And it's owning it, because you want to own it. Because let's say if something does go viral, if something does get placed in television and film, right? But you maybe sold it in a quick deal. You don't have access to that. And it's 10 years later. Like you probably got a wife, children, you've left it alone, but somebody working at a sync company said, hey, this is perfect for what I need. I'm going to pay you $12,000. Do you still have the rights? No, I don't have the rights. You got to call such and such. So if you don't really know what to do with it as an indie artist, the best you can do is own it, or at least own a majority stake in it, like 51%.
All right. So normally they would sell their stake to
record labels.
But when they're doing this, you talked about displaying the sheet music or something like that, that's a part of these laws under the United States. In what way would somebody who's independent need to use those other royalties, like the more obscure ones? In what way would they need to use it? Like, what deal would they be setting up as an independent where they need to worry about that, besides just keeping the rights for themselves and making sure they don't sell them all off just in case something happens in the future? But what if they need to actually enact them?
If they need to, they're already activated once they're on Spotify, right? You have the public performance there. You've got, if you're on Sirius XM, or if you're on a webcast radio, or lower grade something, or Dash Radio, or Music Choice, you're already enacting these laws each time you sign up. Most people don't know that because they're in the terms and conditions. You know what I mean? When you just click yes and you sign up, It's already there, right? So it's just when you want to get fancy with it, that's when you deep dive into it and explore those 6 rights. How can I possibly make money off of this? Some people are so good enough that they can just do a merch deal and it will supply the funding that it needs, they need for their entire operation, right? That's how they enact it. Let's say they want to take some of those rights and they want to do strictly an advertisement campaign. It's all, and I keep going back to print, but outside of getting your music played, on the streaming services, outside of getting it synced for television and film, that's the second way. That's the second, like, under the surface type of way to get the money. Then the next one is just the print. And then from there, you start to see where it unfolds. Like streaming your music on the airlines when people plug the headphones into the seats and they're tapping. It's like, how many ways can we make money off this music? How many outlets can stream it at one given time? Where, if I'm in H&M, how do I get on Pandora for business, Spotify for business, Mood Media? You know what I mean? And that's really when it boils down to, okay, I am in tune with what I'm selling. I'm selling music in this business. And then that's usually when you're growing. And it happens for a lot of artists. Some artists, they're just right here. They're making maybe a little extra $1,000 a month on the side and they're cool. But those people are, on Spotify, Apple Music, and TikTok. And that's what they do. If they're going to apply it, it's just about knowing how to use it, right?
Yeah. So you talked about the Spotify for business, Pandora for business. Who am I signing? I'm an independent artist. Who am I signing up with that when H&M plays this in the mall, that I'm being paid from H&M playing it in the mall?
Right. So some of this, because I've done my own research, I'll go in the mall and say, hey, who's running your music? Starbucks. Oh, Spotify for business. Or I'll go into another place and it'll be, we're using Pandora for business. The Music Genome Project. When that launched, I guess maybe 10 years ago now, and they started using artificial intelligence to build these experiences for shoppers, that's where the music goes. Once you put it up on the sites, the artificial intelligence is already working it. Now, there are people that work there in those offices to craft playlists for people. Yes, sure. That's where you got to do your homework. That's where you got to, work your connections. And there are other companies, and I'll list some, like I said, Mood Media or In-Store Audio Network, where you can get your music. You can contact these people. They can work it in their playlist, right? But those days are slowly going away. So that's what I mean. When you distribute stuff on TuneCore, DistroKid, what's the new one? Sound On, I think, with TikTok and ByteDance.
I heard of Sound On.
That's going to be a killer when that comes out.
They should have been on that already.
Yeah.
But
they're slowly rolling out. But it's all artificial intelligence now. So when artists think about working those rights, it's all about, and maybe this can roll into another question here, it's all about content production so that people can see what it is you do and so they can identify, this is this person with this music. Whether it's showing your face, or there's certain artists who just don't want to be recognized for anything. They want to be behind the veil. However you do it, whatever is going to be done, it's going to be through content production, and these analytics and the artificial intelligence will find this music and it will start to bubble through, the different channels.